Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad that you're with us today to stay curious. Marty Winkle's running our Streamlabs board today. We got a little help from Trekkie Techie Jessica Galloway. We appreciate her efforts helping us. Marty, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Mark. How are you?
Well, good, Marty. You've been to Home Depot, right? And you know the plastic chains that they have across the aisle when the people are stocking. You've seen those, right?
Sure have.
Would you believe that there's an astronaut, I'm told, that's responsible for that safety measure? And he was launched on this mission right here behind us right now. Well, stay curious about that little bit of fact that I picked up from former Center Director Jay Honeycutt, working with Jay on a little project. So we're glad that you're all with us to stay curious today. And we're going to have a little mixed bag of this shuttle mission that was launched, STS-86, to the Mir space station. We're going to talk about that astronaut who may have changed the safety policies at Home Depot. And we're going to talk a little mishmash about a couple strange planets out there that have been discovered, orbiting other stars. We've got planet Mars is going to go into a blackout with all of our satellites and rovers are going to be blacked out here in about a week. We'll talk about that. And then we're going to look at some eye candy from the Webb telescope, some fabulous images from that today. So glad that you're joining with us today. Please tell your friends to watch us on YouTube. After all, we're the only nonprofit that is doing a weekday program Monday through Friday on space history, emphasizing the wonderful 3-decade era of the shuttle. So, of course, we are a proud nonprofit and have been supported for a long time by, well, I got to get to the pictures there, Marty. We didn't rack that up right. Let's see. Probably want to go back this way. There we go. There we are. We have an auction going on October 6th. You can see the items right now. We have astronaut Woody Springs, some of his collection, including many Robbins medals. These are the flown precious metals of silver and gold that rarely come up for sale. They're offered to the astronauts, and these Robbins medals, silver, are $400 to $500 easily. The gold ones flown can be up to $10,000 or more in cost there. So hit that QR code or go to our website. We have auctions up at the tab. You can go to the website by Bid Again Auctions and start bidding till it hurts. If you think something, you'll go up to, say, $500 on an item, but the bidding only goes up to $400. You'll get the item for $400 there if you're the top bidder. So we'll be talking about that the next 2 weeks as our charity auction, October 7th. And we've created a galaxy of giving and constellations where you will see your constellation formed with your donations. This fundraising drive will begin November 1st, and you can hit the QR code there to give us money at any time for your tax-deductible donation to our official nonprofit here in Florida. Shout out to Nick Thomas for a great show that he did yesterday. He's got his arm around Big John there. John McBride was honored with an award out at the Space Center from the Quilters of America. And we have got on the right there is Roger Crouch. He had one mission on that do-over 2 flights of that space lab. And then we've got Marine on the left, Buckeye. Tell me his name, Marty.
Ken Cameron?
Yeah, Ken Cameron. I was going to write it down, and I'm not going to forget his name. Ken Cameron on the left there, twice a pilot, twice a commander, and his gold and red name tag there says, "Oorah, I'm a Marine." So they were out there with Big John, and Nick said he's looking good. He's got a few health issues, but he's really doing well. John is 80 years old, by the way. Space shuttles of the month of September. We have 11 shuttles. Only Columbia and Challenger didn't fly in the month of September through its 30-year history. 4 for Atlantis, 4 for Discovery, and 3 for Endeavour. We had 65 astronauts, 5 of them were women, 2 missions to the Mir space station. We're going to be talking about 86 there on the bottom left-hand corner. The other one is the one right beside it, 79, where you see the Russians and Americans shaking hands. 2 ISS hard hat missions, 5 science payloads, 1 tracking data relay satellite, important for communications, and the Space Lab Japan there in the middle, STS-47. So we love our shuttles of the month. There was we actually had, as we see, juxtaposed against the time on the bottom and the number of shuttles on the left in sequence of their launch by the date. You see we had 8 shuttles and 42 astronauts that could say they were in space on September 12th through 18th. And Waltz, Wilcott, Reedy, and Lee can all say that they were in space that week twice. They had 4 repeats twice. So we met Terry Wilcott, who was the pilot and then commander of those missions there. But on this date in history, the 26th, we only have STS-79, and which was a Mir docking, and in 1996, and then a year later, you had 86 docking with the Mir space station. And we'll talk about those missions right now. There's the beautiful launch of Shuttle Atlantis, the 7th Mir docking. This was at, I got the wrong, oh no I don't, 10:34 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time was the launch of this. Not sure if this is a USIAC Brothers photograph or not. Didn't look that up, but hello guys, hi Tom. We appreciate the shuttle missions that they share with us. So the crew members on here, you had, well, there's the Mir space station that they were going to, all right. And it had already been damaged by the, this is after the damage. I'm looking at the damaged solar panels there. Yeah. Okay, well, here we have the crew. Jim Weatherby was his 4th trip of 6 to space. Michael Bloomfield, not sure how many he had. I have it on our Facebook page. You got mission specialist Vladimir Titov. Okay, he's on the right because he was going to in the EVA suit. You got Scott Parazynski is in the other EVA suit on the far left. Jean-Luc Cretin, and he is on the far left, all right? He's the Frenchman there. And we're going to talk about Jean-Luc here. L-O-U-P, Jean-Luc Cretin. Wendy Lawrence, nicknamed Too Short, and Dave Wolf right behind her. Now, Wendy was actually going to go to the Mir space station, but she was too short for the Orlan Russian spacesuit. And that was a requirement that they had to be able to fit in there, and she was way too small for that. Marty, we've met her several times at the Kennedy Visitors Complex. She talks about that. And her 2 trips to the Mir space station she had as a visitor. She told me, I said, what do you remember about the second trip that, reminds you of the second trip? She said, everything. Everything was a mess. They didn't clean up anything. They were very cluttered with anything. They never threw anything away because they were afraid they might need it. So the Mir space station was very cluttered. So the docking occurred on September 27th, and they spent 5 days docked. They dropped off David Wolf and brought back, who did they bring back? They brought back Michael Foale, yeah. Michael Foale was on there during the crash, okay? His hatches were sealed, and that I am correct. If you look at this shuttle, or you look at the right there, that solar panel is crinkled because that was crashed into by a cargo ship while David Foale was on there, all right? So they'd had a fire on board before Jerry Lininger, and then they had this uh, uh, hit by the um, cargo ship. And the Russian conducted a 6-hour EVA to survey damage outside Spectre and pinpoint where the breach of the hull occurred. Two undamaged rays were repositioned to better gather energy, and it was a lucky break. That white cylinder there is the Spectre module that had a breached leak. That was where he had his toothbrush, spent the night in there, so to speak. And they later did an EVA inside of there also to try to figure out what was going on. It was the first um, interior EVA performed. So there's the astronauts on there, and quite a great mission there. And this cooperation from 1997 continues today with the International Space Station, where we have right now we have 11 on the orbiting the Earth with the 3 Russians, 8 on the space station. No, we got 14, 11 on the space station, and 3 Russians, or 3 Chinese. I mean, Marty, a comment there before I bite my tongue.
Yeah, Mark. Tom Yusiak said that is our picture.
Oh, good, Tommy. Want to give credit where credit's due. So that's a beautiful Hasselblad lens, giving you that image of Atlantis coming off the pad there, 10:30 at night, in 1997 when we were young, huh, Tommy? So now here's the story I have to tell about Home Depot. All right. And this is from Mr. Jay Honeycutt, former center director. Jay and I were talking recently, and he said, I got to tell you a story about, Mark, you know the stanchions that they put up, so don't go down the aisle in Home Depot because they're stocking things in there. I go, yep. Well, this guy had something to do with it. He was training for the mission before this, and he, let me put that down there, put it small there. Jean-Luc Cretin, and he had 4 missions to space. Okay, very experienced flyer there. So he goes to Home Depot to get something, and someone was stocking on the other side of the aisle up at the very top, pushed something off the top there at the Home Depot, big aisle there with all that stuff on it, and it came down and hit his shoulder and injured his shoulder. And he called Jay Honeycutt, who was at the Johnson Space Center working at the time, and George Abbey. Yeah, big name George Abbey, okay. Cretin calls them and says, I need some help. You know, I hurt my shoulder, and they don't want to talk to me about it here. So George goes there, George Abbey with Jay Honeycutt, and they start talking to the manager. He says, oh, he's not that hurt. You know, we're not going to do nothing about it. He goes, we want you to file an injury claim here on this. And then George Abbey got a phone call from somebody at Johnson Space Center who knew what he was doing and said, hey, by the way, Frank Borman is on the board of directors for Home Depot. Oh, little call to Frank Borman, and he calls the Home Depot people, and everything's resolved. Mr. Cretin did get a settlement from his injuries that got him kicked off a flight. Before this, he had to wait to go to this flight. And the rest is history. You go down Home Depot, see that plastic little chain link fence there so you don't go down that aisle. And I'm told by Mr. Honeycutt that this man, French astronaut, had everything to do with that. So now you know. And then that story there, we've got Jim Weatherby. He was a one-time pilot and then 5 times commander. But what I think is coolest is he's the drummer for the Maximum G band, Max Q band. Yeah, Max Q band they call it. He's the drummer. That to the left is of course Bob Seek, and to the right was the launch director, Mr. Jim Harrington, who launched this crew out there. This is after the landing. I miss seeing Jim. Need to check in on him. And Bob Seek has been on our board of directors for many, many years, our former treasurer. And Again, that was when we were young in 1997 there, Bob. See, Bob was a manager in the shuttle business. He was segueing into launching shuttles after Harrington there. Well, some more news of the day. And you all know that this is that little Indian rover. Is it dead or alive? Is it dead or alive? And we basically think that, yep, it's dead. I'm looking for my glasses. They're around my neck. How about that? Okay. Engineers at the Indian Space Research Organization still, they've not given up yet, but they're still trying to wake up Chandra 3 lunar lander known as Vikram and the rover Pagnan. So far, they haven't heard back from the iconic duo, the first human-made objects to land in the moon's south polar region, where it did verify that there is water underneath the soil in there. Now, they don't know if this water is in like blocks, cubes, or an ice cube tray, all right? Or is it just mingled up into the regolith, the lunar soil? All right, but they know there's ice crystals in there, and this lander and rover confirmed that. So this is a picture of the lander taken by the rover that went down the little plank right here that I'm pointing at there. So, but it was a successful mission, only supposed to last 2 weeks. We're at the pole. There are some areas of the pole that, you know, it's 150, 200 degrees during the daytime, but at the night it plunges to 200 below zero. The spacecraft was not made to endure that, or it had to be heavier and cost a lot more. So good for India that they had a very successful mission, and they'll be ramping up and doing it again. Okay, there's the so these are some of the habitable exoplanets. An exoplanet is a planet orbiting a nearby star. Of the 500 to 600 nearby stars, we have discovered 5,000 planets orbiting these stars. What is unusual about this, Marty, is in all the solar systems we've discovered outside of ours, the big planets like Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus that are in the outer edges of our solar system are close to their star sun. As close as Mercury, some of them. And that's puzzling. How could a hot star, a planet full of gases, be close to a hot star and not have those gases blown off? Well, you know, this is why we do science, to learn things, and that's what scientists do, is they don't go into anything with assumptions. Now there's the Earth on the left, so all of these planets here, 2, 4, 6, 8 of them, are unique because we found water vapor in them, all right, and we found maybe some other signs of possible life on there. Well, how do we know all these planets? They discovered out there a planet that is made of entirely iron. The more we learn about the universe, the more we realize that the further out you go, the weirder things get, all right? This planet, this is just an artist rendering of it, not a photograph at all. It's called Gliese 368b, but its nickname is Tahay. Now back here you see a bunch of these are called Gliese. Let me go back here. Gliese 581, Gliese 667, Gliese 163. These are out of a solar system that's called Gliese, and there's 5 or 6 planets there that are kind of in what we call the Goldilocks zone. Not too close, not too far away, just right for a temperature for liquid water to exist. So this Gliese planet called Tahay is highly unusual because it's made of iron. They found it in 2021 using a powerful satellite called the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, or TESS for short. And so they're going to turn the Webb telescope to this to study it. The most likely explanation for an iron planet is that it was once like the Earth and something stripped away the rocky mantle that we have, and the hot core inside was exposed and cooled down. So it'd have to be much bigger than the Earth to do that. that's the easiest explanation. But Tahay may have formed in an unusually iron-rich protoplasma planet system, proto-solar system, where there was a lot of iron, so it coalesced into a big iron ball. Or the third possibility is it's like Neptune or Uranus that have an iron core, but a gaseous outside, and that was stripped away by by either going too close to a star or but stripped away by some sort of intense uh, um, uh, radiation process there. So we're always discovering weird things in the world, in not the world, in the solar system. And this is really one weird one, a planet made of iron, Gliese 367, that they call Tahay, Tahay. Well, here we have some of the rovers and orbiters around the planet Mars. And something caught my eye doing some internet searching where somebody asked, is it true that NASA has lost contact with all of its missions to Mars? Well, the truth is, not yet. But we will lose contact as all of the orbiters and 2 rovers on Mars will go black on October 7th till the 16th, when the sun goes behind. The sun covers up Mars. When Mars orbit takes it behind the sun, as seen from Earth, we're on the opposite sides of the solar system. And if we can't see Mars, we can't get any radio signals from it. So scientists at Jet Propulsion Lab around the world, because there's an orbiter from China, there is an orbiter from India orbiting Mars, as we see there. And we've got 3 NASA orbiters, and of course we've got Odyssey and Curiosity on the surface of Mars. And don't forget the little rover Ingenuity that's still, the little helicopter Ingenuity that's still working on Mars. So all of these are going to, right now, they're getting ready to go into a mode to shut down automatically, process their data, store it to be rebroadcast. But there's a 2-week period where the rovers are basically going to be put in pause because it's too risky for the scientists to give them a program for 2 weeks to keep moving. So they may have them doing some cleanup, clean up their computers, do some things like that. But they're going to basically be shut down in blackout mode. There's a couple of the other orbiters around Mars there. You got the so this an interesting time. This has happened before, and it happens as in what we call solar conjunction, where Venus goes through this, so does Mercury, and the other planets where we couldn't get data from them, as the radiation from the sun scrambles all of the data, and of course it blocks it out when it's directly behind there. So. Well, one of the things that the Webb telescope has been doing, looking around the universe as well as our solar system, particularly in our solar system, the Webb telescope has revealed homemade carbon dioxide on Jupiter's icy moon Europa, shown here, raising the possibility that the frigid water world could host life. Now, this is an icy coating around this ball that is the size of Earth's moon, bigger than Earth's moon actually. The layer might be 10 to 10 miles thick, could be 5 miles thick. We're not sure. But what you see an absence of here, Marty, is craters. You see that big white crater right there? All right, you don't see any other craters on there. And this shows that the surface is very young and it has been replenished very recently, within the last 1,000 years, if not within the last 100 years. What is going on here with all these streaks and everything? This ball of ice is actually splitting apart by the gravity of Jupiter, all right? Enceladus, another moon of Jupiter, or of Saturn, is just like this. And you've got the moon Callisto is another big ball around Jupiter. Callisto, Europa, Io is a moon of sulfur volcanoes, and Ganymede, those 4 moons of Jupiter, you can see about 10 o'clock tonight through any kind of telescope, as Jupiter is the bright star that you're going to see rising way above the horizon about 10 o'clock at night. You go outside to walk the dog before you go to sleep at 11 or 12. You look up, the brightest star you see is going to be Jupiter. All right. And this you can see in binoculars, not the globe of it and the ice and all. But this is a photograph by one of the spacecraft that spent time like Galileo going around Jupiter for a long time. So this ice has got cracks in it. The cracks ooze out by the gravity of Jupiter and forces inside a metallic core. The water doesn't have to be very thick. As you see, it's just a very thin layer. But that thin layer of 3 to 5 to 10 miles around this whole globe is more water than all the oceans of the earth. And because it's under the ice, it could be warmer at bathroom temperature, bath water. And what could live in bath water? Sea monkeys, anything, amoebas, all kinds of things, diatoms. Who knows what's in this? And NASA wants to find out by sending a probe to Europa that can actually go down one of these fissures like a snake in a submarine type of thing. So a lot of Jet Propulsion Lab engineers are working on how to get into this water and find out if there's creatures living in it. What do you think, Doug Forrest? He said he lives just 10 miles from Jet Propulsion Lab there. I think they may have those sea monkeys in their labs right now, Doug Forrest. Carlton Bailey's watching. Space Monkey's watching. Dave Stange, Robert Law, Cynthia Rossi, Tom Musiak, hey, Bill Whiting, and Tom Thumb. We're missing Chris Calley, who says he's having a hard time getting on YouTube. So we might try to roll back to Facebook and broadcast there too. But the link's right there on Facebook. It's posted every day so that you can go right and watch YouTube, where we can make about, I don't know, we make $1 maybe an episode now. So, well, thought we'd end our Stay Curious today by going out into the universe a little bit with the wonderful images from the James Webb Telescope. Of course, it has captured high resolution images in a different way. It captures them in near infrared light. The telescope's capabilities allow it to peer through otherwise obscure nebula filled with gas and dust that surrounds the stars. And we are looking actually through a nebula here, like a tunnel, and light years away from this is a galaxy or clusters right there, those white stars. Now that bright yellow star with the crosses on it, that's an artifact of the Webb telescope itself. That's between us and this canopy of hydrogen gas that's being illuminated and rarefied by stars that are born in it. And then hundreds of light years beyond it is a galaxy or star cluster way back in there. Isn't that cool? Like going through a tunnel of cosmic debris and coming out on the other side there. Now this recent Hubble or Webb telescope image are two stars, Marty, where the red hex is in there. That is, and again, these hexes are caused by the brightest objects in there. And it's actually part of the Webb telescope that's holding the secondary mirror. You see that on a lot of telescopes. It's caused by the reflection off of that, those spikes. Well, right in the middle, the red spikes are two stars that we never saw before because they were obscured by gas in that blue nebula. But the Webb is cutting right through it. 1,400 light years away in the constellation Vela, which is a southern constellation. Vela was in Argo, the ship. Although the stellar duo has been studied and observed by many space and ground-based telescopes since the 1950s, the Webb telescope has taken the most detailed high-resolution ever of these stars that are theorized to be just maybe a few thousand years old. Wow, the pyramids could be older, and Egypt could be older than these two stars where that red cross is. That's something to think about, isn't it? And there the Webb telescope is looking at it several light years across that red galaxy, where it's not red galaxy. It's actually ejection coming out. See the little up there at the top right. You see a little ejection line going to the gaseous cloud, where this is being shot out by those two stars forming. And maybe those stars that are rotating around each other have planets forming around them right now. Well, to take you out on Stay Curious today, we'll take you to this beautiful photograph. I mean, that looks like some artist rendering of some abstract art there. But what this is one of the most photographed regions of our Milky Way, which is 390 light years away in the constellation Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus was the serpent handler. Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus is the name of a person. And this constellation is between Scorpio to the west and Sagittarius to the east. It actually is part of the zodiac. The planets and asteroids and so forth can be found inside of the boundaries of Ophiuchus, and yet it's the 13th astrological sign that nobody includes in anything. So planets can spend more time in Ophiuchus than they can in Scorpio, which is a very small cut. Very small part of Scorpio goes through the ecliptic where the planets are. So what we're looking at here is roughly 50 newborn stars blazing brightly through clouds of iridescent gas in the majesty of the closest star forming location to the Earth, just 390 light years away. Stars are forming here. The light we're seeing from them left when Galileo was turning his telescope to the skies in the 1610, 1620 period of Earth history here. So this gorgeous Rho Ophiuchus, R-H-O, the Greek letter for the bright star region that this creates there, is one of the masterpieces of the Webb telescope. So hope that you enjoyed that. Marty, I saw a woman talking about the Webb. Actually, her doctorate degree was on images from the Webb telescope at the Astronomy on Tap event in Orlando at the Oveda Brewing. And bless her heart, she knew a lot about astronomy, but she didn't know what the Webb telescope was named after. Maybe you don't. So I'll tell you, the Webb telescope was named after NASA Administrator James Webb, our second administrator, after Glennon, the first one. He was appointed by President Kennedy. He served under Johnson and then got booted in 1968 when the Nixon administration came in. But James Webb is the architect of the Apollo space program, financially going to the Capitol and getting money for what we needed for Marty's Grumman lunar module and so forth. James Webb, a great man. He also put the A in STEAM, as he, on the last Mercury mission of Gordon Cooper in 1963, had 8 artists go out to the Kennedy Space Center, and Chris Callie's dad was one of those out there. So Paul Callie. So James Webb made his mark on NASA for sure, and now he's making his living forever in these fabulous images I just showed you. So, Marty, thank you. Anything else we need to share with our friends staying curious today? Nope.
No, we're good.
All right, great. Well, tomorrow we've got Mikey Haddad on Stay Curious. I didn't put that slide up there, should have. Mikey is, of course, our payloads expert, and he's going to talk about the radar lab missions that were pretty cool that they did up on the space station and documented the Earth. So Space Lab Radar by Mikey on Stay Curious tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss that. And then Friday we've got Dr. Gary Studi, and Dr. Studi is the expert on growing plants in space, and we're going to hear all about that from our museum friend, Dr. Gary Studi, on Friday. Thursday, we'll come up with another mashup of news of the day like we did today. So thank you all for staying curious. Until tomorrow, I'm Mark Marquette saying, come visit our museum. We want to bridge the space between us. Thank you.